From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Well, good morning, everyone. We're taking a look at the satellite detected activity. Okay, so what that's basically saying is the satellite is detecting heat signatures. Now, you may recall the last few mornings, most of these heat signatures were kind of in this area right here. This was the area that didn't really get much in the way of rain, if any, from the remnants of Hillary, right? It was all of this area here that saw the rain kind of smoldering the fires and basically creating a lot less activity, and the fires not burning nearly as hot as they had been. But now that we've had a few days without that rain, now that things are starting to dry out again, we're beginning to see a lot of these heat signatures begin to reemerge in a lot of the areas we saw them before the rain passed on through. This was to be expected. We weren't expecting the rain to put out the fires, but it certainly was a major and a big help. Because I can tell you, over the last 24, 48 hours, I've been seeing more containment of the fires. I've been seeing more progress when it comes to getting closer to containment of these fires. So the firefighters are certainly getting a better handle on the activity that we're seeing here. So let's take a look at the fire perimeters here, kind of from distance, and give you an idea. So here's all the activity. You can kind of see here, there's the deep fire, then it kind of goes down to the south here as well. Now, what we're looking at here, you use this as a guide. When you see red, kind of a big blob of red or a red dot on the map here, what that will indicate is that that's fairly recent activity over the last 6 to maybe even 12 hours. You start getting in the oranges and yellows, that's anywhere from say 24 to even 48 hours old, meaning it was active, and then that's saying, hey, 24 hours to 48 hours ago, that was an active area, not so much anymore. And then of course you get into these gray colors, and that can be anywhere from 5, 6, even 7 days old. Okay, so kind of use that as a guide when we're looking at this also. I'm using the official fire perimeters as our guide for distances to different communities. So the head fire, for example, we really haven't seen a lot of activity coming from this fire over the last few days. As you can see here, the areas in yellow indicating a couple of days old. So no recent activity from the head fire. There you can see some of the distances there. Those have not changed since yesterday. So we're going to kind of go through those kind of quickly here. There's the Scott fire as well, as about 14.2 miles from Etna. Meanwhile, we'll take you out to the west. Now, we are seeing some recent activity here from the Ufish and the Malone fires, but that being said, the latest fire perimeters have not gotten any bigger at this point. Now, you can kind of see on the north side of that fire, in both those fires, you're seeing that activity. So there's potential that the fire could have grown a little bit outside of that fire perimeter line. Again, but we are looking at the latest official fire perimeters, and that's all we can go by at this point, right? So we take a look at the deep fire, no red on the map here, indicating that once again, we're not seeing any recent activity, so the distances haven't gotten any closer to those local communities. The deep fire, of course, now looking to the south here, as we look into Highway 299, hasn't gotten any closer to Weaverville, Junction City, or Helena for that matter. Let's take you off to the north and west. This is where we've got the Smith River complex. It certainly is a much more active fire. However, this western complex of fires here has not seen much in the way of any recent activity. So Smith River, Crescent City, Hyuchi, at least from that part of the fire, no changes here when we're talking distances. Now, what's getting a little bit more difference here is the southern end of the fire here, but you're seeing a lot of red, especially in the outer perimeter of the fire. What that tells us is that we're still seeing a very active fire, number one. But number two, when you look at these fire perimeters, what you have to look at is go, you know, there's a chance, again, that those fire perimeters may be expanding a little bit outward a little bit here. And in fact, these have changed a little bit here for Gas Key over the last 24 hours or so, not to mention Hyuchi for this part of the fire, and then this part of the fire here. And what's interesting is you'll notice no recent activity, but the official fire perimeter is kind of south of where that recent activity is. Here's the Perch fire. Kind of another thing that is a little bit concerning here is the fact that you've got the main fire perimeter right here, as you can see that red line, but this here is recent activity from the fire being detected by the satellite. So there's a possibility that the perimeter here may have kind of expanded a little bit more to the west. And of course, you can see here, still based on the latest official fire perimeter, about 2.3 miles from Orleans. Let's take you to the south here. There you can see the Lone Pine Fire. This is great to see over the last few days. I haven't seen any red on the map here, so these distances haven't really changed much. And just to kind of take you in closer, there's the southern portion of Hoopa right here. Here is Trinity River. We're keeping the fire on the other side of the river from Hoopa, which of course is what we want, right? We take a look at the Pilot Fire. The south end of the fire is where we've seen the most recent activity, but the distances here have not changed over the last 24 hours. Here's a look at the Lost Fire, same situation here. No change in those distances, and you can see no recent activity with the Lost Fire either. Let's talk about smoke, and it's mainly coming in from the Smith River complex where most of the smoke is being generated. Now, through the day into this evening, it will push eastward. Places like Wairika could see some of that smoke, and then it will push southward here as we go into the overnight hours and into Friday morning. But another thing we've got to talk about here is the potential for thunderstorms in the forecast today. Now, you'll notice here in the headline, I've got less thunderstorm activity, and that is very much the case. However, today, one last day of these thunderstorms in the forecast, and we should finally be getting a prolonged break from these thunderstorms here. Cooler the rest of the week through the weekend, and really even through next week, with no major heat waves in sight. So here's your North Coast forecast. The inland areas, a little hazy. We could see some thunderstorms here, especially for northeastern Humboldt and southeastern portions of Del Norte County as well, and not to mention Trinity County. Seeing a potential for some thunderstorms in there as well. And looking at temperatures kind of hovering right around that 90-degree mark here for that daytime high. All right, so let's take a look at Futurecast. Here we take you into the mid-afternoon hours. We're seeing those thunderstorms popping up. Some of them could get strong, so we're talking about heavy rainfall and not to mention maybe some hail as well. That will then progress northward. Western Siskiyou County. As I mentioned, the northeastern portions of Humboldt County and eastern portions of Del Norte County could see some activity here. Now, as we look at this and we see the rain on top of the Smith River complex, we think this is great. Yes, the rain is great. However, these are also strong thunderstorms, and typically what accompanies those thunderstorms are strong, gusty, erratic winds, and that can wreak havoc on a fire. So we've got to really be on the lookout for that. And this has been fairly consistent over the last few days as far as the placement of those storms over the Smith River complex. All right, let's go and take a look at Friday, and Friday should be dry, not even much in the way of cloud cover. So again, once we get past today, the chances for thunderstorms are really going to be non-existent through the rest of the week, this weekend, and most of next week. Now, I am seeing that by Friday of next week, not tomorrow, but Friday of next week, we are going to be looking at the potential for some of that monsoon moisture coming up, and that could mean the potential for more thunderstorms. But that's a long way out. A lot can happen between now and then. Cooler air, pocket of cooler air is preventing this heat from building over on top of us. So yes, it's going to warm up a little bit here, but this will help to level out those temperatures, and then that will scoot off to the east, but the heat will also retreat as well as some more mild, coolish air off to our west will once again keep our temperatures at bay through the end of next week, if not longer. Let's take a look at those wave heights here for today. There you can see around 6 feet. As we take you into your Friday, those wave heights are expected to lower down to about 3 to even 4 feet. So it looks like, again, if you have to be in a boat, conditions will be better for tomorrow. North winds at 5 to 10 knots today with those waves from the northwest at 6 feet at about 8 seconds. There, of course, you see that low tide at 11:09 this morning, and your high tide at 6:08 this evening. All right, so I've got the lightning strikes here for Trinity County. I've got lightning strikes for Hoopa and Willow Creek. Now, I don't anticipate any thunderstorms for Garberville, but you certainly want to be on the lookout because you are going to see that activity not too far to the east of you, and that could maybe scoot a little bit more to the west. Fortuna, most likely not. I don't anticipate any thunderstorms there, but the chances are very slim. And of course, along the coast, we're looking at dry conditions. Here's your 7-day outlook for Crescent City. Of course, the dry conditions. However, now, that rain, those thunderstorms are getting uncomfortably close to Crescent City. So it's not out of the question that later this evening, Crescent City could maybe see a little bit of activity, but better chances for places like Hoopa and Weaverville. After that, chances for thunderstorms are gone, and we're looking at dry conditions. Your 7-day outlook for Eureka, looking at partly to mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures in the mid 60s here. That'll be the case through the weekend and into early next week.